Hi, welcome all of you. My name is Dr. Mohammad Fiaz from University of Education, Digikhan campus. Today we will talk about another important element of agriculture and agricultural crops. Yes, the chemical control. Today the whole agricultural sector relies on the chemical control, which includes the methods or programs to use chemicals to suppress or control the pest population. So, those chemicals which are used to control insects are called insecticides. But before going to the topic, let's have a look in our today's lecture. First of all, we will study a little bit about chemical control, insecticides, its history, then classification of insecticides, and then advantages and disadvantages of chemical control. Let's discuss what is chemical control of pests and why we need that. Definitely, we need chemical control program to clean the environment and disease-free environment and ultimately to stop the rapid growth of pests. So we control the pest using the chemicals which are called pesticides. So what is a pesticide? Pesticide is a chemical which is used to prevent, destroy or repel pests. Generalizing it simply, we can say that to combat pests and diseases occurring on our crops, livestock, and our possessions. It may not be wrong if we say chemicals are substances which are used to kill the insects. So, those substances which are used to kill the insects are called insecticides. As previously discussed, insecticides are those substances or chemicals which are used to kill the insects. These chemicals are not new to the mankind, they have some history. For example, humanoids have been on Earth about 3 million years ago, but insects have existed for at least 250 million years ago. First mechanism that our ancestors used against was smoky fire and applying mud and dust on their body to keep away tickling insects. It was Second World War that opened the new era of chemical control, that was insecticides. There are about 400 groups of insecticides currently registered and used in agriculture, medicine industry and consumers. Okay, now we will discuss the classification of insecticides. Insecticides can be classified in any of several ways on the basis of their chemistry, their toxicological action, or their mode of penetration. But right now, we will focus the classification on the basis of their chemical nature. Broadly, insecticides are classified into three groups: natural insecticides, synthetic insecticides, and IGRs, or insect growth regulators. Insect growth regulators are insecticides that mimic hormones in young insects. They disrupt how insects grow and reproduce. IGRs can control many types of insects, including fleas, cockroaches, and mosquitoes. Natural insecticides are those insecticides which have the friendly ingredients and natural, you mean no more toxic chemicals. Some of these natural insecticides have origin from plants called plant-based natural insecticides. For example, tobacco plant, neem plant, and many other plants have insecticidal activities. The other category of natural insecticide include microbes. For example, some antibiotics are also used to control insects. The synthetic contact insecticides are now the primary agents of insect control. In general, they penetrate insects rapidly and are toxic to a wide range of species. The main synthetic groups are chlorinated hydrocarbons, also called organochlorines, organic phosphates, also called organophosphates, and carbamates. all these products are easily commercially available to the market. The examples of organochlorines include DDT, endosulfan, and methoxychlor, while the examples of organophosphates is chlorpyrifos, dimethophos, malathion, parathion, etc. And examples of carbamates are carbofuran, hexamyl, and methamyl. Let's talk about mode of action of these insecticides. Mode of action means how they work to control the insect pest. Three major categories of insecticides fall on the basis of mode of action. The first one is contact poison. Contact poisons are those chemicals which injure the target organism by physical contact or skin absorption. For example, DDT is a contact poison as it causes skin problems. Other cause serious damage to our bodies, but only when their indigestion take place. Systemic insecticides are those which are applied to the soil beneath a plant and transported in the xylem sap tissue, can reach pests that are otherwise hard to kill. Many sap feeding insects like scales, which don't move around much and may be protected by the wax or by the plant itself from insecticides sprayed on the leaves and stems. These insects do take in lots of plant saps during feeding, however, so a pesticide in the sap can be easily ingested by the pests. Fumigants are toxic compounds that enter the respiratory system of the insect through its spiracles or breathing openings. These include such chemicals as hydrogen cyanide, naphthalene, nicotine, and methyl bromide, and are used mainly for killing insects, pests of stored products, or for fumigating nursery stocks. Let's talk about some advantages of chemical control. The use of chemical pesticides is widespread due to their relatively low cost, the ease with which they can be applied, and their effectiveness, availability, and stability. Chemical pesticides are generally fast acting, which limits the damage done to the crops. While the disadvantages of chemical control program include uh, they have some major drawbacks, but they are still widely sold and used. We will discuss four of the disadvantages of chemical pesticides here. First, chemical pesticides are often not chemical pesticides. They are just toxic to the organisms for which they were intended, but also to be other organisms. Chemical pesticides can be subdivided into two groups. First one is non-selective and selective pesticides. The non-selective products are the most harmful because they kill all the kinds of organisms, including harmless and useful species. For example, there are herbicides that kill both broadleaf weeds and grasses as well. This means they are non-selective since they kill nearly all vegetation. Another disadvantage of chemical pesticide is resistance. Pesticides are often effective for only a short period on a particular organism. Organisms can become immune to substance, so they no longer have an effect. These organisms mutate and become resistant. This means that the pesticides need to be used to control them, but unfortunately, it is not happening right now. A third drawback is accumulation. If separate plants are eaten by an organism and then organism in is eaten by another, the chemicals are then can be passed up in the food chain. Animals at the top of the food chain, usually predators or humans, have a greater chance of toxicity due to the buildup of pesticides in their system. Gradually, however, this effect is becoming less relevant because pesticides are now required to break down more quickly so that they cannot be accumulated. If they do not, they are not permitted for sale. The last and most significant threat related to remains or residues of pesticides which are left behind on the crops. Residues may be consumed on fruit or vegetables, for example, and for this reason, crops may not be sprayed close to harvesting. Alternatively, the remains of pesticides may soak into the soil or groundwater, and the contaminated water might then used to spray the crops or be drunk by the animals.